Joining us now, former advisor to President George W. Bush and the co-creator and executive producer of The Circus on Showtime, Mark McKinnon. He has a new piece out in Vanity Fair entitled "Trump's Re-Election May Hinge on Getting Voters to Hate Joe Biden." Mark, I think that'd be a hard ask to try and get people to hate Joe Biden. He's been serving in Washington for decades, and he's universally likable. Not a lot has stuck to him, and a lot has been thrown at him over the past 2 years. What are they planning, and why would this be the strategy when he doesn't really have the issues, let's put it this way, that someone like Hillary Clinton had?
Exactly right, Mika. That's the challenge, and that's why you see the frustration in the campaign, and them even just this week talking about changing the nickname that Trump has for Biden. They're clearly frustrated, and here's why. In 2016, the double haters, as I call them, were a significant amount of the electorate because Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were the two most unpopular nominees in presidential history, and 20% of the electorate didn't like either candidate but still voted. But of those, 16% voted for Trump. So flash forward now and look at that same number, and the double haters, those that don't like Trump or Biden, are voting for Biden by anywhere from 30 to 60 points, depending on which set of data you look at. So to your point, the problem is the voters have a history with Biden. They know him. They're familiar with him. He doesn't necessarily light their fires, but they're comfortable with him. So the task that the Trump campaign has, which is to make Biden as unlikable as Donald Trump and win those double haters, is a massive challenge. But I guarantee you between now and the election, they're going to do all they can and spend every penny to make sure that things, don't be surprised if we're hearing pretty soon that Hunter Biden, his patient zero, was in Wuhan last year and brought the virus to the United States. That's the kind of things that they're going to be grasping for out of frustration.
I don't see it. Jonathan Lemire.
Mark, you're exactly right with the Trump campaign's inability to this point to drive Joe Biden's negatives. They've tried everything. The China, Hunter Biden, as you say. They're certainly going to be further down the playbook soon. I wanted to talk to you about the idea of enthusiasm. The Trump campaign, in fact, over the weekend, put out a memo touting that they have more enthusiasm. Their candidate has more enthusiasm than those who are backing Joe Biden. And that's sort of their theory of the case right now. They know that they're down in the polls. They know they don't care so much about the national polls. They're worried about the battleground states. But they point to enthusiasm. They suggest 35-40% of the country likes Donald Trump and that we're really passionate about him and will turn out to vote. And they believe that even though there's a larger part of the country that doesn't like him, that they are maybe more tepid, at least some of them, more tepid in their support about Joe Biden, and they're trying to suppress that turnout. What do you take on this enthusiasm argument? Because we are seeing in polling enthusiasm decline somewhat for Donald Trump and start to rise for Joe Biden amid the massive protests and stuff. Can the enthusiasm gambit, if you will, work for this campaign?
Well, they're grasping at one of the only straws that they've got. I mean, that's kind of their life preserver, is that the support they have among the core supporters in the Republican Party and how excited they are about Donald Trump and have been since he's been president. But as you pointed out, Jonathan, the problem is that those core numbers are diminishing from anywhere in the mid-90s to the mid-80s now. And I guarantee you that, I can't predict with any precision the outcome of this election. I stopped trying to do that after 2016. But I will tell you that I'm pretty damn confident, and I'd bet the house, that we're going to see a historic turnout on both sides. Democrats are not staying home. So there's not going to be an enthusiasm problem on the Democratic side, at least in terms of turnout. And that's what counts in the end on Election Day.
Mark, Shauna Thomas has a question. Shauna?
Hey, Mark. I think it's interesting. I don't know if you saw President Trump's answer to Sean Hannity when Sean Hannity basically last week gave him a layup and said, hey, what's your second term agenda? And President Trump went on a long, rambling thing. Do you think this campaign and this particular president can actually effectively message Biden hate if they cannot effectively message what they're going to do in a second term? And, as you know, the second term for a president, this campaign, this is a referendum on President Trump. It's not really a referendum on Joe Biden. So how can they effectively message Joe Biden if they can't effectively message themselves?
That's a great question, Sean. And that I think is actually the greatest problem right now strategically, is that they don't have a clear rationale for a second term. That was shocking to me when Hannity asked that question and Trump was unable to answer that. That's something that he had locked and loaded like the day after the 2012 election, talking about making America great again. Now they're talking about transition to greatness, and they're changing that, and they're not clear about that message. One of the things in the Bush campaign that we decided really early on in the re-elect is that we should have whatever strategy that we nail down, that we should stick with it. In other words, even an imperfect strategy flawlessly executed was better than a strategy that changed every week based on the changing environment. And that's what's happening with the Trump campaign, is they can't lock in, and they're trying to try something this week, try something next week, a new nickname here, a new nickname there. I'm telling you, that's the greatest problem this campaign has. The external environment's really problematic, healthcare crisis, foreign policy crisis, race crisis. But if they can't figure out why they want a second term, then they don't deserve one.
Yeah, Mark McKinnon, thank you very much. We'll be reading the new piece in Vanity Fair and looking out for the new season of The Circus coming up in August.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.